we turn our attention to a fascinating and often overlooked aspect of Roman intellectual life, the teaching of Greek in ancient Rome and its broader implications for bilingualism in the classical world. Now, to begin with, we must remember that by the late Republic and into the Empire, the Roman elite were not just bilingual, they were bicultural. Greek was not merely a foreign language taught in schools, it was a second intellectual identity. Much like English functions globally today, Greek was the language of philosophy, science, rhetoric, and high literature. Roman children of the upper classes would typically begin their education at home with a literator, focusing on Latin literacy. But as they progressed, particularly if their families were ambitious or of noble standing, they would be tutored by a grammaticus, often a Greek freedman or slave, who taught them not only Greek grammar and vocabulary but also the canon of Greek literature, Homer, Hesiod, the tragedians, Plato, and so on. And here's the striking thing, these students didn't just learn Greek to read it, they learned to speak it fluently, to engage in debates, to compose speeches, even poetry. Cicero, for example, was deeply influenced by Greek rhetorical models and often shifted between Latin and Greek in his writings, sometimes mid-sentence. That kind of code switching tells us a lot about how deeply ingrained Greek was in the Roman intellectual consciousness. But this wasn't confined to the elite. In the eastern provinces of the empire, especially in places like Alexandria or Ansh, the situation was reversed. Greek was the vernacular, and Latin was the language of administration and military command. So bilingualism in the Roman world was not unidirectional, it was a complex, layered phenomenon. In some places, Greek was the dominant tongue, and Latin the second. In others, the opposite was true. Interestingly, some Roman emperors, like Marcus Aurelius, actually wrote entire philosophical works in Greek, his Meditations, for instance, suggesting that Greek remained, in many circles, the language of introspection and moral inquiry. So what we see here is not a simple case of learning a foreign language for convenience. Rather, the teaching of Greek in Rome, and Latin in the provinces, was part of a much larger cultural negotiation, a blending of identities, and a remarkable example of elite bilingualism long before modern globalization.